Hello, I'm William Lears, and this is,
Wonderwood.
and we just finished up the two-parter of The Impossible Planet and The Satan Pit. So, what did you think?
I kind of felt like it might have started more hares than it was able to chase down, and I'm never a big fan of, ooh, is it really God? Is it really dead? Ooh, is my all-purpose? No. I thought there were some good things about it, but I kind of felt that it was a little confused at the end, and I'm not sure it delivered on everything all the expectations it set up.
It's fine, just adjusting the camera.
Okay.
Thought we were a little too far back there. Though I like our heavenly glow, which is appropriate for this episode, right?
I'll do a little quiet. Ah.
Thank you, Marie Gold. So, what do you mean by in terms of setting up more?
Well, it really couldn't come down on either side of the does Satan exist issue. I didn't feel like I thought it was very confusing about how these people before the universe got there, or was that just a lie to lock the thing up? I'm not sure. I meant to study black holes a little bit, but I don't know if they knew at that time that black holes do actually spit forth an unending stream of antimatter, which would have been a great way to dramatize the beast, really. I'm not sure if they knew that. And I don't think that I think there were things that you could have played with black holes that would have been really cool. And I don't think, the physics was obviously totally wrong. But if you're in an event horizon in a black hole, things happen with time, like it slows down a lot and stuff. So I felt there were some missed opportunities there. I felt that if we're going to say, okay, we don't know what it is, but it's something that's been spread into all intelligent beings in the universe, then how does it take care of it to put one guy out the airlock? I don't know. I did want to say that when I've said I've seen the Oods, it wasn't this one. I've seen later Ood episodes, so it was interesting to me to see them start out being basically, evil peons.
But already there's a clue, because they're not pure evil, they're controlled.
Right.
So there's a mirror there between the humans, despite their bestial design.
Well, they actually, only have evil when it's infected them from out. I mean, it's very clear that they're, it's different from us, where it's just a sort of amorphous thing. So, yeah, so those were things.
In terms of missed opportunities, I definitely agree there was a big missed opportunity in terms of how the devil was shown. Because he was just sort of a generic horned, red-skinned monster, that we'd see in any Judeo-Christian representation.
Right, and just let me say that for the doctor to go on about how he was always the same manifestation in every civilization in the universe, that was kind of stretching it.
Yeah, I feel like it would have been much more interesting if the beast had been some sort of shape-shifting type creature who took various different forms, maybe sometimes the red skin thing, sometimes, just like, some other little monster, or sometimes even perhaps, it would have been interesting if the doctor had seen a former Gallifreyan or something to represent his doubts and anger at himself over killing his species. I feel like that would have been much more interesting.
Right. I think it really strongly hinted that the devil, I mean, it wanted to have it both ways. Like, it wanted to have this embodied typical devil, and then it also wanted to say that the devil was just a spirit emanating through the universe. I think if you had this be like, let's say, a people who had something happened to them, so that they generated this thing in their own images and then had to lock it up, and it got out of hand and they had to lock it up, that would have been a good way to explain why it had the form that it did and the limitations that it did.
Yeah, there was a science fiction film that came out in 1955 called Forbidden Planet that was trying to be like a reworking of Tempest. But anyway, in that film, there's also a sinister dark creature they don't understand. And in the end, it turns out it's the scientist has been trying to channel all his dark energy into this one place. And I feel like that direction could have been more interesting. But Yeah, I mean, if you're gonna make the devil an alien, he should just be a traditional devil. That's boring. And then, okay, well, maybe then the human possessed could have been more interesting, but he also was just generic
Right.
with the whole We Are Legion thing. I mean, it's nothing we haven't seen before, and that's a disappointment.
Right. That said, I thought that the crew members' characters are really well developed. I like the gritty, alien type, like the movie Alien type, industrial griminess of the mining operation. But that reminds me of something else I wanted to say about the philosophy of the episode, and that is. The doctor seemed to view the human impulse to explore completely positively, whereas this would, I think, have been a good opportunity to explore the more anti-imperialist, anti-colonial views of exploration. And also, I mean, there's a sort of Poe-esque view of the imp of the perverse, something that propels us always to do things that are bad for us. And there was no real reason given why they needed a power source, that they had to be there, risking everyone's life, victimizing the Ood, no matter what their little house elf explanation was for them. Why is it that the English have these fantasies of these faithful retainers who just love to serve?
Well,
because they've never gotten over the. Anyway.
Upstairs, downstairs shows that there are some. Maybe that's just another.
Or there was once, I don't know, but yeah. So, well, my theory about that is that it's an island nation that was attacked many times, and so people who could protect other people did earn their respect and generations. But anyway, won't get into that. But I thought that was kind of a missed opportunity philosophically. But I did like, that the acting captain's role. I also was a little puzzled about, 3/4 of the way through the 2 episodes when Rose, who had been being extremely leaderly and active, kind of in parallel to the doctor down in the pit, started saying that we could counter the force by acting positively, and well, you sort of could and you sort of couldn't. It wasn't very clear.
Well, I felt like she was doing that so that the people didn't give in to despair. It wasn't like we're going to win through, positive thinking. It's more we have to focus in on how we're going to defeat the thing.
I don't know. There was a lot of stuff about how it was trying to undermine and prevent.
Well, it's basically the same message you get when you're depressed. Try to focus in on things and work through it. Don't give in to depression.
No, but it didn't have any effect really on the fifth force.
Oh, I completely disagree there. Because if they just given into depression, that would have killed them, and that would have been that.
Right, that's true. But I mean, it wasn't a means of triumphing over it or anything. It ended up that you just had to blow the guy out of the airlock, and that didn't make any sense because in everybody there's a lot of.
I don't know what the hell was up with that line. No pun intended.
I did really like the sets. I liked the sets, not only the ship, but also the mining operation and the geography of the pit area.
Yeah, visually, this was one of the best episodes of Doctor Who. I mean, usually, it looks pretty fakey, but that whole cavern, clearly trying to replicate Alien, but it still looked incredibly impressive for a TV budget.
I mean, the appearance of the black hole made zero sense because there shouldn't be any light coming out of a black hole, but I liked that it looked like a giant eyeball.
Yeah. In terms of the crew, I like the captain. I thought he was well developed. The rest,
Ida.
Yeah, Ida was okay. Yeah. But a lot of them, I felt like they were hinting at things, but we never got them. I wish we could have found out what was going on with Mr. Jefferson. Our cat is desperately trying to get in.
Speaking of the evil.
It's sunny outside, so she thinks, we can go outside and be free. And then, oh no, it's actually cold. Oh no.
I'm going to let her in.
Yeah,
so I'll be right back.
Go let her in.
All right, go ahead about Mr. Jefferson.
We kept hearing these things about his wife, and we never got any building on that. I felt like that was a missed opportunity. I don't know. I mean, part of me is good, we don't have, a tragic backstory. But other parts of me are like, well, if you keep mentioning this, we should finally get an explanation, especially since we're never going to meet Mr. Jefferson again.
I totally forgot about his wife between section 1 and section 2.
Well, it's mentioned both times.
I did think that he looked like somebody who was going to be the baddie manager, and then he wasn't. He was heroic, and didn't make a lot of sense. Like, again, because I'm thinking, what are they doing there? Whose dumb idea was this?
Yeah, I mean, especially with the whole alien aesthetic and how that company is always sending people to die. You kind of think something similar here.
Yes, and the doctor's weird musings about the human impulse to explore and Ida's evolutionary explanation, while interesting, neglected a lot of the aspects of exploration in history and.
I just didn't feel it was fitting with the Doctor's character. I mean, I know Tennant isn't quite as aggressive as Eccleston, but I just kept expecting the Doctor to call them dumb apes. But he never did, and that felt puzzling to me.
Or to point out how much. I mean, they're always his big thing is human life. Well, they're just wasting it, as far as I can tell.
Yeah. But I think what did save the episode was the character interactions. I really liked the scene where the Doctor and Rose think maybe we're stuck here forever. What are we going to do? Are we going to build a new life?
Right, but then she says that having him there is the only thing that's going to make it palatable for her and bearable for her. And then he goes and jumps down a shaft, potentially destroying himself without a care in the world.
No, I don't think he has not a care in the world. He has that whole tell Rose what she'll understand. So he thinks about it.
Yeah.
And he just decides ultimately that this is more important to him, I guess. Typical man. But I think their relationship's being built up well, even though I don't think Tennant and Piper have the romantic chemistry that Eccleston and Piper did.
No, it's more like a big brother.
But I just feel like it's just odd. There's sometimes just it between actors, and it just can't be replicated no matter how hard they try, and it just isn't replicated to the same degree. But I still think I could believe if they fallen in love. It's just I don't think it's as natural as seeming.
Yeah.
I've also thought that the tension was built up well. I thought it was well paced in the first part. It built up a spooky atmosphere.
Mm-hmm.
Which is why it was a shame that it was just a big red monster. Again, I think if it had been many different forms, it would have been just much more interesting and much more in keeping with the idea of the episode, which is the idea that the devil isn't just a monster, he's an idea. Well, if you're going to have him be an idea, then he shouldn't just be a big monster.
It certainly shouldn't have the same form, and that's like, ooh, he has the same form, maybe he really is real. Ooh.
Yeah. So. I feel like this is something actually that Wonder Woman did better with Ares at the end of that movie. The end is a mess, I feel, but it still has it like Ares is working through these people to cause World War I. And that's much more interesting than if Ares were just leading an army in World War I, which is what the equivalent would be.
Right. I also thought there was going to be more sort of trickery in the cavern. I didn't really... that you free him so that he'll die, and
there's a lot of exposition there, and
it was kind of gobbledygook.
It was just sort of felt like the writer felt, the Doctor has to say what's going to happen because I can't figure out just have the audience put the pieces together organically, which is a problem.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I did like the scene. I really liked the scene where the red shirt gets sucked into space and they mourn her, and there's that line about, I thought space would be whizzing around in teleporters, but no, it's dangerous. I thought that was kind of a jab at Star Trek and how too often red shirts just die and they move on quickly. So I thought that was a good beat.
Well, yeah, I mean, it was consistent with the other episodes in that every time somebody died, even the Ood's deaths were taken very seriously. And at the end, when he's giving his Torchwood log, the captain is giving his Torchwood log, and he mentions everyone who's died, and he has the Oods. I thought that was good.
It's good, though. I'm not exactly sure why the captain is bothering, because he didn't care about the Ood, and then the Ood tried to kill him, so why would he care about them at the end?
Well, I think it's just that they were part of the mission, and so it's the company policy that everybody should be.
Yeah, I mean, I can get him noting they're dead, but it's just a little odd that he was saying, with honors and all that, because I didn't feel like he'd grown to like them. If anything, he would have grown to fear them.
Well, I think that I get maybe it's sort of the ones that guy is off the ship, then we're able to be our best selves, kind of thing.
Perhaps.
I mean, I think everybody realized that the Ooh were not, as you say, acting on their own volition. So.
Yeah. I thought the Ood makeup is. I mean, I thought when we saw the other one, but the makeup is so impressive, and that just going back to that werewolf episode. When you look at that Ood makeup, you could tell they could do good werewolf makeup, and that just makes that CGI wolf even more frustrating. But yeah, so I thought aesthetically this episode was probably one of the best. But in terms of story, one of the worst. It wasn't awful.
I would say it was better than The Unquiet Dead, just because it was interesting and
The characters were better. Like
yeah.
Dickens was so and that Morgan was and the psychic was
And there was, I mean, like the part where they're crawling through the tunnels was exciting. Of course, I kind of thought that it was trying to distract us from the fact that it couldn't resolve the plot, but whatever. But it was exciting. There was nothing comparably exciting in The Unquiet Dead. So.
Yeah, I mean, they quite did want to be scary with the zombies. It didn't succeed. This one wanted to be scary for tunnels, and it got, excitement going. I don't think it ever got scary, but got to go.
I did want to mention, it looked to me like when they showed the mining operation from above, it looks like a chalk outline of a body.
Oh,
So I thought that was cool.
That's neat. Yeah. So overall, I guess I give this episode a B-.
That's what I was thinking. But that's a little generous for me because if you're going to do themes like, is it really a devil, then you really need to up your game a little bit.
You need to give us an interesting devil. Like, I love the story of Faust. That's an interesting devil. This devil, he never really tempted people, which is like so base to the devil's character, which is bizarre. I would have thought, when we think of, what a much better devil in Doctor Who was?
What?
Those bat creatures in that school episode. They actually sort of tempted the Doctor. They're trying to get knowledge. That felt like much more like a devil, and how the guy could seem human and somewhat charming and then switch to a bat. That was a good devil.
Yeah, I agree. Although, of course, it wasn't. And then they had they did have the Ooh code on the computers, but and they could be, monstrous gothic bat, but also you're suave, charming. Right. And the reason that's really good too is because those fantasies of being suave and charming are how we'd all like to be. So it really is embodying the evil in us. So that's really important if you want to go for that idea, I think.
Yeah, I mean, here it was just Bald Mountain with none of the grandeur. Like, even Bald Mountain works better with the way the devil plays with the creatures in his hands, and it's just so clearly getting off on it. But here, it's just a monster, and that's just such a disappointment. So, yeah, B-. So much swimming potential. Shame. Okay. Sorry about this being a rather long one, but we had 2 episodes to cover. All right. Thank you for watching.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Somebody